No one saw it coming. The BET Awards had their usual dose of flash and flare, but what truly set the stage ablaze wasn't a performance or a surprise appearance. It was Tyler Perry, standing calmly under the lights, delivering a message that cut deeper than any Hollywood gossip ever could. He didn't yell, he didn't accuse, but every word felt like a bullet aimed straight at Meghan Markle. Before we dive into what really went down behind closed doors, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. This channel brings you the unfiltered truth, the stories the headlines, watered down. And what Tyler Perry just did, it shook the foundations of Meghan's public image. Let's rewind. In 2020, after Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties, it was Tyler Perry who caught them. He gave them a mansion in Beverly Hills. He paid for their private security. He shielded them from media chaos. Back then, it seemed like a gesture of compassion, one powerful figure extending support to another. But behind the scenes, what began as generosity evolved into something far darker, a toxic exchange that left Perry feeling exploited and discarded. During the BET Awards, Perry told a story without naming names, about offering someone a home, support, and loyalty, only to be met with silence and distance once that person got what they needed. "Some people don't say thank you," he said. "They just take what you offer and vanish. No names, no need." Everyone knew exactly who he meant. Sources close to Perry say the real turning point came when Meghan allegedly requested the use of his private jet, not as a question, but as an expectation. There was no discussion about cost or logistics, just entitlement. And when Perry declined, not out of spite, but because he sensed the dynamic shifting, Meghan reportedly lashed out. That's when Perry began to see the bigger picture. This wasn't a friendship, it was a transaction. Came fast. While Tyler Perry's speech didn't use names, it didn't have to. Within hours, speculation exploded online. Commentators connected the dots. Journalists quietly reached out to sources. And Meghan's team, they went into overdrive. Multiple. Insiders say her PR advisors immediately began damage control, pushing out statements to friendly outlets, offering behind-the-scenes interviews, and even drafting a response podcast. But the narrative was slipping, fast, because this time, the story didn't come from tabloids. It came from Hollywood's most respected voice, someone who had nothing to gain and everything to lose. And perhaps the loudest blow was the silence that followed. Oprah Winfrey, once Meghan's most vocal ally, didn't speak up. No Instagram post, no tweet, no statement, just quiet. And in Meghan's world, silence from Oprah isn't neutral, it's deadly. Behind the scenes, things grew messier. According to one Netflix insider, investors began pulling back from Meghan and Harry's upcoming media projects. Phone calls that were once returned in minutes started going to voicemail. Meetings were rescheduled indefinitely. No one wanted to be the one publicly associated with a collapsing brand. What made it worse were the whispers that followed. Former employees, staffers who had signed NDAs, producers who had worked on deals, began to share their experiences. Slowly, anonymously, but their stories aligned. Meghan, they said, was controlling, demanding, and loyal only when it served her image. Gratitude wasn't given. It was expected in silence. And when people pushed back, they were gone. One former consultant described working with her as emotionally exhausting. Another said that no strategy ever mattered if it didn't amplify her narrative. A Netflix producer claimed that creative ideas were constantly shut down, not because they weren't good, but because Meghan wanted to approve every single word. Bit by bit, the cracks started to show, and the fairy tale began to fade. It didn't take long for social media to turn. Platforms that once overflowed with hashtags like On We Love Meghan and Justice for Meghan were now overrun with memes, side-by-side videos, and brutal TikTok breakdowns. Her old speeches about empowerment and gratitude were being compared, line by line, to the accusations now floating around, and the results weren't flattering. Even creators who had previously defended Meghan fell quiet. A few deleted their videos. Others posted vague captions about being disappointed. One formerly loyal blogger posted a single tweet. Turns out, fairy tales have villains too. The backlash wasn't just online, it hit the numbers. A recent US poll showed Meghan and Harry's favorability dropped over 30% in just a few months. In the UK, they were already viewed with skepticism, but now that sentiment was becoming global, studios that once chased deals with them were quietly walking away. Sponsors didn't want their name associated with a story so soaked in toxicity, and then there was Harry. While Meghan allegedly fired off furious texts to Tyler Perry, accusing him of betrayal and dragging her children's legacy into the mud, Harry remained almost completely silent. Some say he was trying to manage things from the shadows. Others suggest he was simply exhausted, burned out from the years of battles, the palace, the press, the documentaries, the endless fight to control a narrative that now slipped further from their grasp every day. Insiders claim Harry had been growing distant from Meghan's inner circle for months, that he was becoming increasingly frustrated with the brand-first approach, that he feared they were burning through bridges faster than they could rebuild them. But the Tyler Perry moment? That might have been the last straw. And while Meghan panicked, strategized, and tried to win the media back, Harry reportedly shut down. No public appearances, no supportive statements, just quiet. The very thing Meghan once weaponized, public sympathy, was now turning against her. At Archewell, the cracks became impossible to hide. Projects were paused, planned hires were canceled, teams shrank without explanation. According to Foundation insiders, budget reviews were happening weekly, and some departments were down to a skeleton crew. What once looked like a thriving brand, backed by celebrity power, had become a slow-motion collapse. Emails stopped getting answered. Media pitches went nowhere. Streaming platforms were no longer interested at this time. And with Tyler Perry's speech still echoing in headlines, investors grew cautious, pulling out before more damage could hit their reputations. Behind the scenes, Meghan reportedly felt betrayed on every level. She believed she had given the world her truth, her pain, her fight, her reinvention. But what the world saw now was different. It wasn't a victim. It was a strategist who pushed too far, trusted too little, and burned through her last lifelines. And those lifelines were gone. Oprah? Silent? Netflix? Hesitant? Hollywood? Watching. Even Harry? Distant? And Tyler Perry? He said his piece. Then walked away. No rebuttal, no media tour, no reaction tweets. Just silence. And that silence was deafening, because in the end, Perry didn't need to yell. He didn't need a documentary or a viral moment. All he needed was the truth. Spoken. Plainly, calmly. And it did more damage than any headline ever could. Meghan's narrative of rising above oppression, of rewriting the royal script, of turning pain into power, was breaking apart in real time. Because the people who had helped build that image were now walking away, one by one. Quietly, but permanently. And the audience? They weren't blind. They saw the shift. They saw the silence. And most importantly, they finally started asking the right questions. Who was telling the truth all along? If you're tired of the spin, the staged interviews, the exclusive sources, then this is where you belong. Subscribe now, because here we cover the moments that actually change everything. No sugarcoating, no censorship, just truth. And trust us, this story, it's only just beginning.